Good morning and welcome to Dr. Dale on Deck on this beautiful October 21st, 2022. Speaking to you from the deck of our home in the Allegheny National Forest, northwestern Pennsylvania, and it is a beautiful day. We've been running in the temperatures in the 30s and 40s this week, but today it's going to reach up into the upper 50s, low 60s, and it's an absolutely gorgeous day out here today. Still chilly, but it's really nice. So glad that you're able to join me today. I promised that I was going to bring some music to you today, and I have one song that I have just written. I have it in process on the copyright side of it for myself through my little publishing company, and this song, the working title for it is The One, and I want to sing that if I could for you. So just good to see you. Glad you are here, and we'll give this one a whirl. See how you think. It's a laid back song. It's slow. It's really designed for a time of intimacy in worship and so forth. As the cats are playing just out here to my left side, the outdoor cats. So interesting. Anyway, we'll see if they like the music. We'll see if you do too. So thank you for joining me. I appreciate it very much. From the rising to the setting sun, when I am lost, you are the only one. In the quiet, I call your name. You're always here. You're always here. From the desert you fill my cup, to the mountain you lift me up. In the noise I call your name. You're always here. You're always here. You are the one who gives me hope. You are the one. You are the one. You always hear. You always hear. You are the one who gives me hope. You are the one. of the flaws and all of the things going on around it. But I do greatly appreciate you listening to it. We'll get it to a more perfected state, if you will, before doing the recording of the project. So working on another song too, but I just want to spend a little bit more time with that. It is not a worship song or a Christian song per se. It's more of a love song, and working on that one and finishing that up lyrically right now. Have the music done on it. But thank you for listening. I appreciate it, and I'm open to any feedback. Just send it on back. Greatly appreciate it. So fantastic. I'd like to spend the rest of this time just talking about birds. Well, really, I love birds. I don't know about you, but I think birds are like really cool. And we have a lot of birds around here, a lot of different varieties of birds. North America has a lot, Europe has a lot, Asia has a lot. Everywhere you go, there are a lot. And there are birds that have, really kind of dropped off, and some have become extinct, and some are endangered. But for the most part, the kinds of birds that we have, here in our area are pretty plentiful, and there are a lot of them. And I just love it. We have a bird feeder. Couldn't really use it a lot last year because there were some issues with respect to feeding the birds out here, but now that seems to be gone, and really, really enjoy seeing the birds. And our kitty cat, Gingy, loves watching the birds out the window. He's an indoor cat, and he loves to watch the birds in the window, and has a blast just kind of, jumping up in the window, and he scares them and they come right back, but they're his buddies. So anyway, but we get, blue jays and house sparrows, a lot of finches, different kinds, different colors, and so forth. Occasionally a bluebird, which I did see one earlier actually I saw a couple of bluebirds, and we also had an oriole come, Baltimore oriole. They do come up north here as the weather warms, and they hang out for a little bit. We have hummingbirds. We have all kinds of different things. And our area, our region of the country, is known for the rehabilitation of bald eagles, and so we have a fair number of bald eagles in the area, and they've been a part of a major plan to restore the bald eagle, as is happening in other parts of the U.S. and Canada. We are very, very thrilled to have that as a part of the ANF, the Allegheny National Forest projects that they work on. So, but today I want to talk to you about the quail, and how this came about was that one of Melissa's friends was trying to find Dr. Dale on deck, and her auto spell put in, instead of putting Dr. Dale on deck, it said Dr. Dale on, and then the next word that came up was quail, and I don't know why. It makes no sense to me. Quail, the bird, Quail, or whatever it is. How do you spell that properly? It is Quial. No, Quail. I knew I'd get it right. My education is in theology, not so much in spelling. Sorry about that. Anyway, quail are hunted. They're a game bird. They are considered really a good source of protein and so forth. I look at birds and I'm going, I don't necessarily want to eat them. I just like to appreciate them and see them. So I thought of a couple of interesting facts about quails. One of them that I thought was fascinating was that on average, quail's lifespan is pretty short, and during their lifespan, the female may lay eggs a couple of times a year. When they do, they usually, their eggs are really pretty. They're kind of like speckled, kind of an off-white, yellowish and black speckled eggs, really similar to a robin's, only a different color. And on average, in our part of the country here in the Northeast, quail will lay about 10 or 11 eggs at a time, as I understand it. And I just found that fascinating because in the state of California, clear on the other side of our country, they average twice as many, anywhere from 21, 22 up to 30 eggs when they lay eggs. So I don't know if that has anything to do with the redwood forest or has anything to do with any of the ecosystems that they are in over there, but that's a lot more. So it stands to reason there may be a population of twice as many in the western part of the country and maybe even the northwest part of the country, or the great northwest. So a lot of them from a and I had to do this, but from a biblical perspective, quails are actually mentioned in the Bible, and you can find them, as many of you know, in Numbers chapter 11 in the Old Testament. And it's there when the children of Israel were escaping Egypt, and when they were coming into moving toward the promised land and so forth, they were in the wilderness, and they were in pretty dire straits there, as far as provisions were concerned. And God sent a huge number of quail their direction, and they feasted on that. And God kept them by this sustenance of birds, quail. And so it's very interesting to me too, is that the quail are really predominant in the Middle Eastern, the Mediterranean climates as well. And so I just think it's pretty fascinating that there's a provision that's made. And it just stood out to me that, I appreciate looking at the birds and listening to their song. And quite often when we're on the deck recording a show, you'll hear birds in the background along with the wind chimes and so forth that we have out back here. But sometimes the birds they go crazy. We get blue jays, and we have a lot of crows, which are Melissa had to point this out to me, they're extremely intelligent creatures. Crows can be trained. They're that intelligent. They have an entire system of citizenry of their own, and they are extremely intelligent. And crows are they're in the same family as ravens. Very, very intelligent birds. So just look at how this provision, whether it's in just observation and enjoying the outdoors and so forth, how beautiful it all is, but also the fact that God meets us in this beautiful thing called nature. And I just absolutely love it. I know there are a lot of heavy things that we talk about quite often on Dr. Dale on Deck. We talk a lot about, deeper spiritual things, but lately I've just been impressed by the fact that God really likes us. He likes us. We know He loves us and made a provision for us, but He actually likes us. And He likes to hang out with us, and He likes to be friends with us. And if we could just kind of get over that hurdle, quite often people have not felt loved or liked in their lives, and it has developed this chasm, if you will, where it's hard for, one of the things I understand is the Bible talks about God in the vernacular of being male, of being a father. And so many people have had really bad experiences with their father-child relationships. And it's really hard for some people sometimes to get a picture of a heavenly Father that cares about them and loves them and wants to be their friend when they had such a terrible, horrible experience concerning their own father, whether it was verbal or physical abuse or sexual abuse or put downs or whatever the case might be, just really bad things that happened. And then I come along and I say, listen, your father loves you. And they're going, I can't relate to that. My father abandoned me. How can that be? And so it's easy to develop a little stigma there that we're looking for our Heavenly Father. We're looking for God to abandon us because we're so accustomed to being abandoned. And I've just got to tell you that I don't have any way to convince you when you've had that deep-seated emotion, except to say the evidences are that God won't run away from you, that he really does love you and he cares about you. And back to birds again, the New Testament teaches, that God won't even allow a sparrow to be injured on his watch. If his intended purpose for that sparrow is to bring joy and life and everything else, that he cares about the smallest creatures, really the emphasis of that passage. And I just think if you will give him a chance, he won't disappoint you. Don't put conditions on him. God, I'll believe that you're there if you do thus and so. Now, he will quite often meet those challenges, but you don't want to base a relationship, whether it's with God or with each other, with your significant other person in your life. You don't want to base a relationship on what you can get out of it. What can I get out of this relationship with God? There are all kinds of promises, and he'll never leave us nor forsake us, and so on and so forth. But the reality is, if I base my relationship with God the same way that I base relationships on the earth, I'll be in a relationship with you as long as you give me this, as long as you do this and do this. And if we do that, we'll surely be disappointed, because our priorities aren't, well, I won't say priorities, but our intentions are a bit off. I remember counseling with people who were getting married before performing their wedding ceremonies years ago, and I would say, to them, you've heard it said that marriage is give and take, and we can say that about any relationship, that it's give and take. That's what you've always heard. That implies an atmosphere of compromise, that fulfillment will only come when you give or when you take. Well, I think that it's a little deeper than that. I really do think that the best relationships that I have seen are those relationships that don't ever have that question. The notes say things like, well, I did this for you, so you need to do this for me. But rather than give and take, I would encourage you that it's a relationship of give and give, and that's really the bottom line. So if we can somehow get that, I think it will help us a little bit. Give and give and give, because that seems to be the completion of what love is about. But I want to encourage you that God does want to be your friend, and he does want to walk with you, and he does want to make a provision for you. But if that's a hard thing for you to grasp, then I would encourage you to just simply cry out to him and say, God, you know my life. You know my comings and goings. You know that I have not been fairly treated in life, and you know that I've been abandoned by my earthly father, or I've been abandoned by my spouse, or I've been abandoned, this way or that way in my life. You know that about me, so I'm just simply going to say, come and be my friend, and I will do my best, but God, I'm asking you to do yours toward me as well, and help me to overcome that fear of loss, that fear of not being good enough, of not quite measuring up. And God looks at you and he says, you don't have to worry about me needing to have you measure up to me. You couldn't do it even if you tried. So I've made a way for you to just walk in a relationship with me, because I do care about you, and I do care about where you're at. So on this beautiful fall day, I want to encourage you. God takes care of the birds. He takes care of the smallest creatures that there are. He makes a provision for us to enjoy them, and to enjoy nature, and to enjoy friendships and all of these kinds of things. But he has provided himself to be your very best friend. He will be closer than a brother, is the way the Bible talks about it. And I want to encourage you to go ahead and just get some quiet time and let him come to you. Meditate. Listen to some music that doesn't have words, just some great meditation music, and and just, put the headphones on or get in a quiet place and just let him begin to fill your life with his presence. And he's up for the challenge. He will never leave you nor forsake you. He will not abandon you. And times when I felt that God was far from me were the times when I discovered later on that he was the closest to me at that time. Have a super good day today, and I'll be back with you next week, and hopefully I'll have that other song all wrapped up for you and share it with you. I ask you to like and subscribe if you have not subscribed yet, and do hit the notification button so you know when we're coming on with something. And I hope that this finds you really well, and I pray that the best of God becomes yours to know and to own and to keep. And, as always, my prayer for you today and for this weekend is peace.